Thank you for that introduction. As you said, my name is Joshua Gidley. I was born the second of 7 children in my very small family. I think my parents must have read the book Cheaper by the Dozen too many times or something. My life as a young child was like all young children. I learned to walk, to talk, to make a mess of the house and do all of the things that children do when they're growing up. But when I was 4 years old, my life was to drastically change forever. My parents noticed that the area under my jaw began to swell up, and it's not really supposed to do that. So they took me to the hospital to find out what was causing the swelling. Well, at first, they thought that the swelling was caused by my lymph node, so they removed one of my lymph nodes and performed tests on it to see if that was the problem. However, the swelling was still there. So the next operation, they removed my tonsils because my tonsils were so swollen that they almost touched each other. Well, the swelling was still there. So they decided to do a biopsy of the swelling, and they wheeled me into the operating room for the third time in a matter of 2 weeks. Now, having 3 major operations in 2 weeks' time is traumatic for anybody, but especially for a 4-year-old boy. Well, they did a biopsy of the swelling, and after that surgery, when they wheeled me into the recovery room, they allowed my mother to come into the recovery room and visit with me. Well, my mother said that when she walked into the room, as soon as she saw me, she thought I was dead because I looked so bad from having the 3 major surgeries and all of the problems. Well, later that night, the doctor came by my hospital room where I was sleeping, and he motioned my mother out into the hall. And he said, "I'm sorry, but we don't have good news. Your son, Joshua, has rhabdomyosarcoma." Now, the only reason I can pronounce that word is because I've heard it so many times. But rhabdomyosarcoma is one of the deadliest types of cancer that there is. The doctor told my parents that everybody he had ever heard of who had had this type of cancer had died. So immediately, the doctor told my parents, "Joshua has 1 week to live, and he won't make it." Well, they decided to try radiation therapy. And they had to take me out of the hospital and take me over to another hospital to do the radiation therapy. Well, the night before I was supposed to receive my first radiation treatment, I almost died. I was laying there in my hospital bed, and because my throat was so swollen, you could hear me breathing all the way on the other side of the room. Well, suddenly in the middle of the night, my mother was in the room with me, and she noticed that she could no longer hear me breathing, and I had stopped breathing. So she went running down the hall, and immediately a doctor and 2 nurses came and rushed me off to the emergency room where they were able to get me breathing again. The next day, my mother's aunt and cousin came by the hospital to visit me. And they both looked at me and said, "We don't think he's going to make it another day, let alone an entire week." Well, I had all the radiation that you were allowed to have, and the cancer eventually went away. Well, several months later, we were on vacation. We were visiting some relatives in another state. And I began to complain to my parents that I was having a headache. Well, children get headaches occasionally, so they didn't think much about it until the next day when my headache was still there. Then my mother was cutting my hair and noticed this time the cancer had come back, but it was in the back of my head. And immediately we ended our vacation and returned back to the state where we lived into the hospital. And the doctor said, yes, this is a terminal case. Joshua will not make it. There is no hope. Well, the cancer eventually went away, and there hasn't been a sign of it since then. So I went from having 1 week to live to 40 years later. I'm 44 years old, so it's been a long week. Now, the cancer was gone, but all of the treatments that I had had, from the radiation, from the chemotherapy, paralyzed my vocal cord, stunted my growth, and caused a lot of problems for me. They destroyed all of the roots in my teeth and caused so many problems that I won't take time in this short speech tonight to go into. But humanly speaking, my life was pretty much destroyed by cancer. So I had two choices. I could, number one, crawl into a hole somewhere and give up on life and say, there's nothing I can do, my life is destroyed. I can't make it. Or I could realize that the cancer that I had was for a specific purpose, so that I could be an encouragement and an inspiration to others. And when I was in the 5th grade, I realized that God had allowed me to have this cancer so that I could share with others. I went to my parents and told them when I was in the 5th grade that God wanted me to preach and to be a preacher. Well, I didn't know you were supposed to go to college and everything before you start preaching and speaking. I thought, God wants me to do this. People want to hear my story, so I better start doing it right now. So in the 5th grade, I was about that tall. I would get up and walk up and down the street around the church where we lived in West Virginia, and I would knock on doors and invite people to come hear me preach. Well, of course, it's not every day that somebody knocks on the door, and you open the door, and there's this little short kid who you can't understand inviting you to come here and preach. I had people laugh at me. I had people make fun of me. I had people tell me to go home and stop causing problems. But you know, for over almost a year, every Saturday night, I stood in that old church auditorium, and I don't know what I said because I don't remember much about that, but I said something to the people that had come to hear me preach. And on the biggest night, I had over 75 people come to hear me preach. And that was just the beginning. Since they told me that I couldn't be a speaker, they said, when I told them that I was wanting to be a speaker, they said, well, you're short, you talk funny, you have all these problems and all these difficulties. How can you possibly do this? Well, ever since then, I have spoken in churches, in schools, in prison, in juvenile detention centers, in colleges, in universities, in businesses all over the United States. I have a website, and I have written my story entitled 1 Week to Live, and I have mailed brochures all over the world about how that just because you have problems, just because you have trouble, just because you have difficulties in life, doesn't mean that you have to give up on life. Life is what you make it. And I have letters at home from Princess Diana. I have letters at home from Queen Elizabeth. I have letters at home from President Bush and people all over the world who have heard my story, who have visited my website, and who have heard me speak over and over again about not giving up. When people say you can't do this, life is too difficult, it's going to be impossible, don't believe them. Continue on, make a difference. When it seems that you have all of the problems in the world facing you, carry on, continue on, and fight until the end. Because no matter what happens in life, no matter how difficult it may seem, no matter how impossible that mountain in front of you may be, you can make it to the top. If you only keep trying, and you only keep moving, and you only realize that the most important thing in this life and in this world is to put others first and to make a difference. I have some of my brochures on the table in the back, and I also have some of my books, Finding True Happiness. I invite you all to come by, pick them up. There's no charge for them. I don't charge anything for my materials that I write because I'm not in it to make money. I'm not speaking to make money. I'm not writing books and pamphlets to make money. I'm writing them to reach people and to realize that we can all make a difference. And even when people say you have 1 week to live and you're not going to make it, you can turn 1 week into 40 years when you never give up.